Welcome to From the Honeycomb podcast. I am your host, Katerina. Join me as we explore stories of fearless female entrepreneurs and inspiring women in architecture, construction, engineering, and beyond. Each episode is a captivating blend of topics that resonate with the soul. Whether you're here to learn more about entrepreneurship, architecture, holistic living, or just need a little extra inspiration, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and let the buzz of positive energy spark your curiosity. This week on the Women in Architecture series, I'm joined by Shadia Jaramillo, a project architect and co-founder of the AIA Florida Northwest Women in Architecture. Guided by purpose and impact, Shadia brings a deep passion for design's power to transform lives and communities. Her work experience spans a wide range of project types, and she's a dedicated advocate for mentorship and emerging professionals. From her leadership roles with AIA to her educational platform on Instagram, Shadia is helping shape the future of our profession. Shadia, welcome back to From the Honeycomb podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm back.
You are, and you're part of the Women in Architecture series, which, as we were talking kind of before the call of like what theme it is this year, I think we're kind of figuring out that it's, finding balance in the profession and figuring out what our boundaries are and what we want to take on that like fills our cup. So I'm excited to kind of catch up with you and see what's been new since you've been on last time.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I think that's a good topic, especially for people that are in like our stage of their careers.
Mm-hmm.
I think at first you're really excited and you say yes to a lot of things and you want to jump in. And of course, we continue to learn, but you want to quickly learn and all that. And now you're like, okay, I've done all these things. Now what? What's my next step? And yeah, I think we're all just trying to figure it out.
We are. And so, as you know, we begin every episode by sharing something that we are grateful for in the present moment. So
Yeah.
what are you? Yes, I know. I don't know if we covered that at the beginning. I forgot. But as you know, anything you want to share that you're grateful for in the present moment?
I love that question. I love that you asked that. I don't know. I don't remember what I answered last time, but I'm grateful for a new day every day. I think the world is so insane right now. And I'm really grateful for life.
No, I think that's so true. And I think because there's so much going on, sometimes you have to focus on the day to day, not the big picture. Like right now, today's today. Here's what I'm focusing my energy on. Tomorrow is tomorrow's problem.
Yeah. Tomorrow is tomorrow's problem. That's right. It helps with burnout for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely does. Hi, it's me, Katerina. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to share with you something that can change the trajectory of your life. If you are ready to start your own architecture firm but are feeling overwhelmed by where to begin, I understand, because I felt the same way when I first embarked on my entrepreneurial journey. This is why I have created the ebook, The Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm. This comprehensive workbook contains everything I wish I had known before starting my own firm. From building a solid business plan to creating your brand, the Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm offers a step-by-step guide tailored to your timeline, whether you're launching your firm today, next month, or in a few years. Dive into essential topics like financial planning, organization strategies, and how to secure your first client, all in one convenient resource. That's right, you don't have to spend hours researching. I have done that for you so you can focus on building your business. And that's not all. With your purchase, you'll also receive an exclusive meditation for business owners, mindfulness tips, a crystal guide for support, and gratitude exercises to help you stay focused and positive throughout your journey. Turn your dream of having your own firm into a reality with the Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm. Click on the link in the show notes to get your copy today. Now, let's dive into the episode. So Shadia, last time you were on the podcast, you talked about your whole architectural journey. So we don't need to dive into that. I'll provide a link in the show notes for anybody listening who wants to know more about Shadia and kind of why she became an architect and her journey. Today, though, we're kind of keeping like an open conversation. It's like two friends having some coffee. We're both, East Coast, West Coast. Yeah, I know. I just have my water. It's the middle of the day for me, so I'll have my coffee after. Which, by the way, the coffees that you make on Instagram, I'm like, you make really good looking coffee. It looks really good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm a coffee connoisseur.
You are. I know you've even like sent me recipes. You're like, this is how you make this, and you have to make this machine, and like, here's the link to the. Oh my gosh! So,
The matcha too. I'm on a matcha roll right now.
oh my gosh, I am so into matcha. It's also I've been trying to reduce my caffeine intake. I think too, like I'm down to 1 cup a day, and it's
That's
either you
it.
get a yeah for an architect. That's very good. I will
But I
say.
think matcha has more caffeine than coffee. I
It
think.
can, but then I tell myself like there's so many benefits to matcha, like the
Yeah.
green. I feel like coffee, and this is so totally off topic of architecture, but here we are. Coffee can kind of seem to have like a crash where I feel like matcha is like an elongated energy.
Yes, yes. I totally feel that. That's
Yeah.
why I'm barely drinking coffee nowadays. I only
Mhm.
drink matcha and tea.
Nice. No, matcha is amazing. There's a place I go to for I love matcha. I need to start making it at home again,
I have
but yeah.
recipes for that too.
You'll have to share them with me
I
after.
do.
For sure. So, one of the things we kind of talked about, right before the call is kind of where are we both at? And so, it's been 2 years since you've been on the podcast, almost exactly to the day, I think, of when we were talking. And so, obviously, career wise, you've been growing. So, can you kind of give an update on like what are some of the things you're working on now? What sparks joy or what fills your cup up? And then we can talk
Hmm.
about the stuff that we need to put aside. But like right now, what is making you excited?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because 2 years ago I got licensed.
That's right.
So 2 years ago, everything started to change really quickly. I think
Mhm.
after you get your license, you're perceived a different way.
Yeah.
And for the last 2 years, I've been trying to figure out where am I going to take my career to and what fills my cup right now. And it's one of the reasons I went into architecture is the impact that my work does to our communities.
Mhm.
That's what fills my cup. I've been working on a community center project. It's the very first time I work on a community center. And again, architecture is a learning curve, right? Every
Yeah.
project I followed, even if you've done it before, it's a new field almost because it has
Mhm.
its own limitations, requirements, constraints, clients. And I think just knowing how much architecture impacts people and how
Mhm.
much every decision that I make affects that, that's what really fills my cup. Understanding like what I need to do to positively impact our communities. And then, like I said, I'm just trying to figure it out right now. I don't know where I'm going. I don't have a direction. And we talked earlier that I think we're all just kind of trying to figure out what the next steps
Mhm.
are. I'm still really young. My
No.
birthday's actually on Sunday. But yeah, that's what fills my cup, knowing that I'm working on something in a career that I love and I'm doing
Mhm.
positive impact. And that's why I like to do what I do.
No, I really love that. And I think too, from what I gathered there too, is you're also focusing on what makes you happy and not what's kind of making others happy. And
Yes.
one thing you and I are both currently going through this year is learning to say no and to like put boundaries because we said yes to a lot of things. Being on committees, you want to volunteer, you want to help the community. And like I kind of vented to you about, I'm part of a realtor club and we have a coffee committee where the affiliates have to bring coffee, and I am in charge of that. And it is hands down the hardest freaking job I feel like I have ever had because every week, all I have to do is send a text message to the adult who's supposed to bring coffee the next day. To bring coffee, you literally have to stop by a coffee shop and pick up the cartons, put them in your car, bring them to the meeting. That's 5 streets down. It is so incredibly difficult to coordinate with these other three adults where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm on vacation. I'm like, could you have not told me like a week ago? Or they get the wrong number of coffees. And I'm like, I told you it's only three. Why are you getting two? I've been telling them we don't need sugar this week. Please leave the sugar. They bring the sugar packets. And I'm just like, why did I sign up for this? So I'm saying no to that next year. I'm putting in my resignation. But like I was so excited for the position because I was like, this is fun. It's an easy way to help, like the group and
Yeah.
like it's something for me to do. It's very minor. It takes up way too much and it's not filling my cup because it's so frustrating. So
I
tough.
think a lot of people that I know struggle with that. I have. And I think for the last 2 years, maybe year, I've been learning how to say no. At first in my career, I was saying yes to everything because you're young and you're really excited and you're like, oh my gosh, I've never tried that. Let me volunteer in this committee. Let me do this. Let me do that. And I think now, like after a while, you realize while you're volunteering that things get heavy.
Yeah.
So for instance, let's say your example of volunteering in a committee of coffee. Okay.
Yeah.
Later you start realizing like it's becoming a burden because it's not something that you want to do. Like you don't want to deal with that. And that's happened to me. There are committees that, they're doing great work and you're trying to participate and give your 110% because I never sign up for a volunteering role just to be a face, right? I want to work. I want to, complete our action items. I want to make an impact. And at some point when you're not, and we go back to what I said about loving what you do, when you don't love what you're doing, it's going to become a burden. You're going to burn out and you're not going to want to do it. And at that point, you have to be honest with yourself and you just have to say, okay, I'm not as passionate as I thought I was going to be, or I'm not as passionate as I thought I was at the beginning. Let me open the door for someone else to take on this role, whatever it might be, because you're taking up a seat that can be used by someone else that's actually really passionate about that. And I think that's where I'm at right now. I'm very limited in my volunteering. So I'm only volunteering, I think, well, I say limited and it's still a lot. I'm volunteering on a couple of AIA stuff. I'm on the Young Architects Forum special projects. I was invited to participate and it's been good. It's been a great experience and I've met a lot of amazing people and kind of understanding the backstory and all the efforts that they have been doing. But it's still a new committee for me. So I'm trying to kind of figure out what my role is going to be. Working on resources right now, which is social media, which is something that I really like. And then for Women in Architecture, I'm still in the role I was at in 2023, which was co-founder and co-chair of Women in Architecture for my local AIA component, but I'm also serving on the state. Wow. And then the last thing on the state Women in Architecture component. And then the last thing is one that I love and I don't want them to kick me out of, or I also don't want to quit it, which is the AIA Florida Caribbean Architect magazine. We review projects. It's I think 6 female architects and we review projects that are submitted. And I love that committee because you're reading about projects, understanding the behind the scenes, kind of like almost like a charrette, but without it being a charrette. So you're looking at projects, deciding on the theme for the magazine for the next quarter. So yeah, so those are the ones that I have nailed down that I'm very passionate about. And another reason why I wanted to kind of limit my volunteering time is because I do private mentoring on the side through my Instagram. I have a lot of people reach out to me and I just do like one-on-one calls with them. And it was just getting out of hand, volunteering and doing that. And that's something I'm really passionate about, guiding people, listening to people, kind of giving them an outside perspective. So yeah, so that's what I've nailed down to. And then, of course, I have my job. I'm part of a bunch of committees at my professional office, but that's a story for another time.
And then, of course, there's like you have to sleep and eat and, cook and get groceries, hobbies, and like one-on-one time with your fiance. So it's like,
exactly.
And seeing family, if you have time to squeeze that in, it's like, there's only so many hours in a day.
I think one phrase that has stuck in my head is quantity over quality.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I'm not saying that when I was doing a lot, I wasn't giving my 110%. I was, but I would go to bed late because a lot of these things I'm doing after hours and it was just not a good balance. And I do hate the word balance because there is no balance. Some days you're giving 90% to volunteering stuff and 10% to your family and your hobbies and, and then the other days are different and it's just like a back and forth, right? But now I think I'm focusing on the things that I really, really love. And I'm trying to see how I can impact. And I'm also trying to see how I can pass the baton to the next person. I'm not trying to be woman in architecture co-chair for my local component for life. If anything, I think 3 years is more than enough. But we just haven't found someone to take on the role. And I think that's something that stands out from a leader. Like you can't be permanently on a role. You have to move on. You have to pass on the duties because you need fresh perspectives. You need younger people with better ideas than you have. You need those connections from younger people. Like I'm now attracting the people I know that are in my age group or above. But what about the younger people? Right? So those are the things that I've been implementing for the last 2 years when it comes to volunteering and easing out of some of the roles that I think just don't align with what I want to do anymore.
No, I think it's important. And I think you and I are very similar in the sense of when we volunteer for something, we give our 110%. Like, I also don't want to just be a face. And so, and some people are fine with that. I can't. And so I think the similar thing I'm facing too. And I love that you brought up the quality over quantity. That's exactly what I've been doing with the podcast this year. Last year, I burned out completely, was like, I'm done. Thought about restructuring it in a way, and then was like, you know what? It's just going to be an episode comes out when it comes out. And then I'm just going to figure out time wise when I can record. Like, we are recording this in July to come out in October, right? So,
Yeah.
but when I scheduled this, I was like, I'm not going to have any work. I'm so swamped right now. Like, this is like a perfect break in my day. But you just never know what's going to be happening with the schedule and things going on. So it's a lot. But focusing on the quality over quantity is just like, I know my word of the year was slow down, which is kind of funny because at the beginning of the year, I did slow down. Right now, it's not a slow down. So I almost wish I had changed it, and maybe I'll just change it halfway through the year to like quality over quantity. Like, I'm going to have a quality, whatever project moment. I don't have to keep saying yes to everything. And it's hard. It's hard to not say yes to stuff. And that's kind of what happened to me with work recently is I was slow for so long. And then all of a sudden, all these projects started coming in and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take this on. Yeah, I'll take this on. But I've been very good now of being like, okay, I now cannot take anything on until September. That's just, it is what it is. I only have so many things. And I'm also learning to delegate, which is a big thing.
Delegating is hard in all roles.
So hard.
Because you want to keep your eyes on the one thing, but you also have to build trust with whoever you're working with. I think I'm much better at that now, but it's not easy. It's not easy.
No, it really isn't easy. And I think too, I don't know if it comes into play because we're also women and like we are and I think too, because you and I, and you especially are so multifaceted. Like when I was, we were talking about like, what should I put in the intro? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you also do like 3D modeling, which is like super cool. And I'm like, you do this and you do that. And like, there's so many things you want to do in life that it's hard to say no because you're like, oh, maybe in the moment, or you're like, well, present day me is excited about this, but then it's like kind of going back to what you're talking about, but then is future me going to be excited about this? So it's kind of like trying to forecast it.
Yes. And like you're saying, we're multifaceted, especially because we're in this field that's very creative. But another thing is, I don't want to say, don't say yes, because if you don't say yes and you don't try, you don't know if you're going to love it, right? Like once you commit to something, you're committed. You can always back out. Like nothing is set in stone, right? You can always back out and say, this doesn't align with me and whatnot. But I think the perfect balance will never be there. We have to try new things to see what we like. I, for one, I think I've said this before, I get bored easily.
Yeah.
For some reason. Very easy. That's why I have so many hobbies, because my brain is always working. My brain is always working. And if, let's say, I've signed up for a lot of things and I have all these deadlines, not only at work, but at all these volunteering things, it's not letting me process what I need to do in the moment, because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I need to send this flyer for this event. I need to send this description for this website thing. I need to send an email to these people where we're doing a panel. And then just things keep piling up and you're not being efficient. Quality over quantity. Quality is not there. It starts affecting you in so many ways. It's affecting your work as an architect or as a designer. So I think that there's no perfect balance, but there's a harmony in there that you can achieve when you start saying no. And I think that's very important. That's very important.
It is. And I think that balance too, let's say you have a moment where you're like, I'm in balance and everything is working out in your professional world. And then something comes out of like your personal. Like right now, we have a sick family member that has also caused some scheduling issues for us. And it's just like, okay, I'm barely keeping this together, like my professional, but now my energy is needed elsewhere. I have to be there for this person. So it's like, then what do you do? And obviously, like, we can control only so much. And that's something too I've been talking to one of my friends about is like, we're both just letting go of control of like, if I can't control this situation, if there's nothing I can do about it, then I need to put my energy on things I can control. Okay, I can control my workload. I can control my deadlines. Unfortunately, I can't control the situation with the family member. That's not, that's life. And so like, I can't control that, but I can control this. So here's what I'm going to do about it. And that's how I'm fixing it.
Yes, you just nailed it because I think for me, that's one of the things that was really difficult early on in the career, the control part. And I think it's a side effect of maturing,
Yeah.
not letting being in control affect you
Mm-hmm.
because you can or you can't be in control, but it's how it affects you that affects the way that you do things, right? That you
Mm-hmm.
respond to whatever the next course of action is. I think for me, that uncertainty was always the issue. And you're preoccupying yourself mentally on things that you have no control of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a trickle effect after that. So, yeah, I think it's a side effect of maturing for sure.
I definitely am experiencing it. And if you're saying it means I'm getting more mature, I will take it. I
Girl,
definitely,
every single day. I think also, I don't want to sound like a mean person, but sometimes we just don't care as much. There are things
yeah.
that I don't know how to put it, but there are things that are just not important.
Yes,
There,
I know what you mean.
and I don't have an example right now, but yeah, just having those priorities and understanding what really matters for whatever thing you're dealing with, I think
Mm-hmm.
is important. And also, when it comes to volunteering roles, it's a volunteer role. People will understand that life happens. And
Mm-hmm.
I try to be that way. Because at first, when you're someone that's giving 110%, you want to be strict and you have deadlines and all this,
Mm-hmm.
but life is not perfect. Nothing is perfect.
Yeah.
And understanding that being a person that can relate, someone that can understand that people have lives
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing the best they can just like you are, helps that process, I think.
I think so too. And I think back to what you were, I kind of know of two potential examples of when, something isn't that big of an issue. It's like when you're a child and you lose your toy and it's like the end of the world for you. Today, if you lost a toy, you would be like, I mean, unless it had some immense sentimental value, you'll be like, oh, I lost a toy, but okay, if anything, I'll buy another one. Right. And so as you grow in life, things like I know whatever I would have stressed out about 10 years ago in my 20s, I definitely don't stress about now.
Mhm.
And like one of the examples I can think of is when I'm driving and someone would honk at me or something would happen. And in my early 20s, I would spend the rest of the day like focusing on like, why did this happen? Oh, what is their problem? Today, I'm like, it happened. I don't have the mental capacity to focus on this right now. We're going to move on. Like, I think that's kind
Totally.
of cool. Is like that, and I think it's true. Like, and I know, if we had this conversation 10 years from now, we're going to be like, whatever I was stressed about, in my early 30s, like,
It don't matter.
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yes, and that's so true. And as you were speaking, I thought of an example towards architecture. This
Mm-hmm.
is something that happens to me, and I'm pretty sure it happens to a lot of people in the field. When I make a mistake on a project, internally, I die
Yes.
internally.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious because we're so hard on ourselves and we're
Yeah.
not perfect beings. No one is. Even robots are not perfect beings,
No.
okay? And I literally die inside and it's hard because it's not like I'm trying to be a perfectionist, but in my head I'm questioning how did it get to that point? Like how come I missed that? And
Mm-hmm.
you're already preoccupying yourself on trying to figure out why it happened instead of saying, okay, I will put that aside and I'm going to try to find a solution, which is what I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
now. I'm
Right.
way past the giving myself a hard time. I'm more, what's the solution for this issue? Okay, this is going to become a change order. Do we have to issue a revision? Like, what is the course of action? And then I sit down and say, okay, this is a lesson learned for me or for the team
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know, for the mechanical engineer, whoever it is, okay, this is our work. And next time, check, this is not going to happen again because I've learned my lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I'm approaching things now. It's less of giving myself a hard time and more of giving myself grace because I'm trying to do my best. And that's all I can do.
Yeah. No, that is. And I think it's so true with just thinking about everything we do have going on now when you compare to some like a woman from 100 years ago, or even people just in general. Like we have so much going on now because of the accessibility to technology and the speed of everything. And like, ChatGPT can write stuff for us. Like I put a lot of emails into ChatGPT, have it rewrite it for me, and I can get 10 emails done in what used to take me like an hour. I get them done in like 20 minutes. And like, there's
Yes.
this speed of like getting things done But I think in the speed too, we can easily make mistakes. And that's something I've noticed, especially in the last few weeks. I've been so busy, like stupid little mistakes have come up. So I'm also a programs director for AWA Plus D, Association of Women in Architecture and Design. And we had an event like a week or so ago, and I made the listing for the event and totally messed up. I copied it from another event that was similar so that when the people registered, they got the email about the previous event. Then one part of the event posting said that the event started at 9. The other part said 9:30. Completely just totally missed it, right? So I get an email from the woman who I didn't end up going to the event, but she wrote me and she's like, "Hey, by the way, did you know that like some places it said 9, some places it said 9:30?" And I was like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." And I'm like, "Oh, you had one job," right? Like make sure the time is right, make sure the location is right. And I just was like, okay, lesson learned. Like I could freak out about this all day, but I just said, "Hey, my apologies. Next time I'll triple check. I'm glad it was still a good outcome." And it is a volunteer position too. And like we all are very busy. So I think that also kind of goes to it as well. But yeah, I love that you said give yourself grace because that's something too is like I've been focusing on like, okay, I can only do so much with the energy I have for today. And so what's going to get done is going to get done, and that means setting boundaries as
Setting
well,
boundaries.
which, ooh, yeah, that's a lot. I've been good at it with like family, friends, and things like that when I was studying for my exams. I think I put good boundaries at that point when I was like, I have to study. Now I'm learning to do it with clients, with contractors, clients too. I think there's also that line of like, just because I sent you an email on a Sunday doesn't mean I want to talk to you on a Sunday. There's like, I had a few minutes. I thought I'd respond just to get ahead of my work week, but that doesn't mean I'm fully accessible. And I think that is a big thing, which I'm very excited to share. I learned the do not disturb button on iPhone. I just learned how to use it like a month ago. I love it. Like only my husband can reach me. And I always turn it on once he's home. I'm just like, okay, it's on do not disturb. I love this feature. Like I have missed so many phone calls from like work to personal.
Intentionally missed.
Intentionally missed. I love that. I freaking love it. Like I love it.
Boundaries are important. It's hard. I think we all will struggle with that till the end of time,
Yeah.
especially because of how passionate we are about what we do and how we want to deliver good work and all that. But yeah, boundaries are important because I think once you let people step in and if you try to back up and say, no, I have boundaries now, that will become an issue then because then they'll be surprised and they'll say, but last time I contacted you then, or last time we did this XYZ thing, and now it's a boundary. So now the bad person in the story is you. So I think hindsight 2020 for me too, earlier in my career, I needed to establish boundaries. And this goes back to my previous job too. You need to learn how to establish those boundaries from the beginning, especially because architecture, we don't have 40-hour work weeks, right?
No.
And so again, we go back to the word balance. There's no real balance. So what are your limitations? What are the things that are no-nos for you? What is that red line for you? You have to have that clear. And maybe at the beginning you don't because I don't know. Maybe you don't have a partner or you don't have kids yet. I don't know. Maybe no one in your family is sick yet. Knock on wood. I don't know. Life happens, right, as you advance. But starting to identify the boundaries and the red lines for you and just being very clear about those things with supervisors, teammates, etc., it will make things easier for you.
Oh, definitely. No, definitely. And I think it also stems from architecture school too. The boundaries of like everybody I hear now is like, I wish I hadn't. And I think you actually said this in the episode from 2 years ago is like, I wish I hadn't pulled as many all-nighters as I did. But that's the thing is we're like brought up in this system architecturally, not like as children, but like architecturally, we're brought up in this system where it's like, you have to give your whole 110% to this profession. And if you don't, like, who are you? And I remember so many times some of my classmates would just be like, yeah, I didn't sleep 3 nights in a row. And I'm like, I don't think that's healthy.
No, that's not healthy. Yeah, I was recently told that architecture should be my hobby. And I think that's a conflict because I love what I do. And this is like a conflicting thought, right? I love what I do. I love architecture. I love helping people. That's why I went to this field. I actually wanted to be a doctor. I think we talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like architecture is my hobby. I don't know how you feel. I don't feel like architecture is my hobby. To me, hobbies are potentially not permanent.
Mm-hmm.
They might be temporary. I have a bunch of hobbies. Hobbies are something that initially probably you're not getting paid for. Maybe in the future you are once it develops. I'm getting paid to do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Architecture is a service that I provide, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't see architecture as a hobby. And I think also telling someone that architecture should be your hobby makes you feel like you have to give more than what you're giving.
And for
It's
free.
almost like, exactly, you have to be 24-hour architecturing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it's supposed to be. This is our jobs. We might be passionate about it, but architecture is not a hobby for
Yeah.
me personally.
It's not a hobby for me either. Like, I know there's like, for example, there's like shows on Netflix about like home remodels or like cool houses around the world. And I'm sorry, after a whole day of working on housing and designs, I don't want to turn my brain off by watching, because for me, that seems like work. I'm judging what the design is. How did they do that? Where was this built? Is that to building code? How did they get away with this? Was that the client's choice? Who made this decision? Like, you can't turn it off. So
You
I
can.
agree with you a lot. Like, for me, it's not a hobby either. Like, for me, a hobby is something that, like, it's hard to describe. Like, is it like I get to turn my brain off? Like, I don't know, yoga is my
Like,
hobby.
yeah.
Like, yeah,
That's what
like,
I feel a hobby is like.
so like for me, yoga is, or we took up hiking. I think hiking is a huge hobby.
Pottery,
Yeah. Potter. Oh
3D
my God.
printing.
Yes.
So I'll give you another example more on the hobby side. I started 3D printing 2 years ago. A lot of
Hmm.
things happened 2 years ago for me. Started 3D printing 2 years ago, on and off.
Yeah.
This year, I barely used it because life happens
Mhm.
and I've had things going on. But at the beginning, a lot of people were like, Shadia, can I please buy a piece? Can I?
Mhm.
And once a hobby gets to become a paid gig, that's stressful. That's very stressful. It puts a lot of pressure on you. It no longer is a hobby. It's what you're saying. It's a no brainer task. You're exploring. Like, for instance, for me, 3D printing, I'm exploring materials, working with settings, modeling things that are
Mhm.
impossible to build in real life. I mean,
Mhm.
all of these explorative processes and journeys through whatever the hobby is that you're doing. But we can afford to make mistakes in architecture, right?
Mhm.
That comes out of contingency, that comes out of losing a client, that
Mhm.
has real consequences. A hobby doesn't. And that's why a hobby is
Mhm.
more fun than something that affects people in
Yeah.
real life, like what we do. Again, we talked about this. A professor in Panama told me if you have a stair and your rise height changes, someone can fall. And we've seen that on the internet on funny videos, right? Like people
Mhm.
falling over and over, and that can affect someone permanently. When you think about what we do and the long term impact, that's something to be worried about, right?
Mhm.
Not
It
about
is.
3D printing, not
Yeah.
about crocheting, not about, so yeah, architecture is not my hobby.
No, I think it's so true. And I think it was Elizabeth Gilbert who said you should have one thing that you do that makes you money, one thing that can possibly be a hobby that makes you money, but
Hmm.
you absolutely have to have something that does not make you money, that is a hobby or brings you joy.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I can't agree with that more. I have people that are really, really young in the profession, just joined, completely burned out, that reach out
Mhm.
to me on social media. And when I do these 30-minute calls with them, I realize that the main issue is that they have so much time in their lives that they're focusing on all of the things that are happening to them at work
Mhm.
instead of saying, I'm shutting that down. It's after 5 or 6 or whenever you get out of work. Now I'm going to do this creative thing that I like on the side and not have that much time invested in the little minutia things that you'll deal with tomorrow.
Mhm.
And I think that's a generational thing. Of course, we all want to do the best we can. We want to impress our supervisors. We want to earn our positions, and we are. That doesn't mean we have to make what we do a hobby. That doesn't mean that we have to be architecturing 24 hours a day. That doesn't mean that we have to be pulling all nighters. If we're efficient enough, we can work within the allocated hours,
Mhm.
unless for some reason hours weren't allocated properly, and you know how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the balance ways to funnel your creativity outside of architecture, because we know architecture is not fun every day. We have to
Yeah.
deal with a lot of things that are very boring,
Yeah.
very mundane. And it's not what we were doing in school where you're designing every day unless you're a full time designer or an architect in a full time design position. So that's another thing I tell people before they quit and leave the profession. Just, hey, go back to the why. Like, why did you start architecture? Like, think about that. Like, was it very important, or you did it because someone told you, or before
Mhm.
you just, how do they say it? Drop the towel? Is that how they say it? Something like that.
Something like
Or-
that. No, I feel like I know what I have the same issue where it's like I say a phrase and I'm like, you know what it means? Like, yeah.
So yeah, and if you don't have these little hobbies on the side, then how can you channel all the creativity that you're potentially not utilizing at work, right?
Mhm.
Design isn't everything, but that doesn't mean creativity isn't everything.
I think that's true too. And I think when it comes with the younger generation too, and then there's the concept of, well, I want to film something so I can put it out there on social media. And then now you're content creating something that brings you joy that could possibly monetize. And it's like, that can be a slippery slope too. Is like sometimes I'll be working on something and I'm like, I should definitely get a video of myself doing this so I can post about it. And
Uh-huh.
then it kind of takes you out of the moment. Like, I don't need to post that I was working on this fun drawing or whatever. It's like
Mm.
sometimes just do the work, just don't worry about posting it, which I think too is kind of a struggle.
Yeah. Sometimes we do the society that we live in, everything is on social media, right? So it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to detach. I mean, I communicate with all my virtual friends that way. So it is hard. And for me, social media is a hobby.
Mhm.
So it's something that brings me joy. It's something that I'm passionate about. And it's something that I like to use to talk about architecture, communicate what we do, kind of like a journal, like a show and
Mhm.
tell thing for people. But yeah, I think sometimes we just need a break from those things and just focus on what we're doing in the present moment, like you always say.
No, very true. Well, Shadia, thank you so much. This conversation has like been a hobby and like filled my cup and just I feel less alone in my feelings of I took on too much and now I want to say no, especially when it comes to volunteering. And I feel less alone and I feel like you get it. I feel like you and I are very much alike. And I think this year for us has been very transformative of things that have happened to us last year and like really since the episode, since you've been on 2 years ago, like
Yeah,
you are going in through this transition point. And I think too, it's you're at a different position in your career, you're a different position in life. Like things are
yeah,
transitioning now, which I think is
yes.
really great.
This is the transition point, I think, for me in all aspects, not only professionally. And I think we all have to pass through those points when we're questioning things and figuring out what's next. And I'm excited to see what happens next and continue learning, continue moving forward, continue with my hobbies that are not architecture.
Yeah,
And continue with architecture. I mean, I love what I do, so it's a harmonial situation.
it is for sure. And it's never ending. We're on this journey till
Never
the
end. Yeah, but tell me about you before we end.
if we have another like episode of what's going on, definitely there's so much more to dive into. But I really resonate with a lot of what you said. A lot of what you're feeling, how you're feeling really mirrors how I'm feeling about this year and kind of like I do need to find some more hobbies because right now I'm like my hobby is work it seems like because that's all I do is I have my own business and like there's never a stopping point sometimes
Mhm.
I work from home so it's hard to
Yeah.
stop sometimes.
And even through hobbies, you can meet people. I mean, we talk about networking all the time.
Mhm.
Even with that, you can meet people and you can get projects. I was approached by a person that had just recently purchased a building because they found me on social media.
Wow.
Yeah. So even then, I mean, hobbies that we think are just for fun can make an impact and change the course of things that you're doing. So
Mhm. Yeah. And that's my goal with this podcast. And I think with this series too. And, from what I'm getting, this series is going to be about, I think, the realities of, what we are experiencing and kind of pulling the curtain back of
Mhm.
like, here's, we are these professional women. We have a degree in a very difficult industry and we're humans too. And so I think that's kind of what this theme is going to be about. So,
Yeah. It's funny you say that we're humans because honestly, what I've noticed as
mhm,
of late is the more authentic you are, the more people can relate to you and the more
mhm,
you're building those relationships. I think being your authentic self and saying, I'm struggling and that's
mhm,
fine. And I
yeah,
need help and that's fine. And that's the first thing I tell people that reach out to me on social media when they're like, Shadia, I'm struggling with this. Do you have any advice? I'm like, thank you for contacting me. And by the way,
mhm,
I don't charge for this. This is just
mm,
for free. So I'm like, thank you for contacting me. This is my opinion on what you just said. And
mm,
people, they have to take it with a grain of salt because I'm no expert. I'm
yeah,
no life coach or anything like that. It's just my
mhm,
personal experience. But yeah, I think it's kudos to people that are authentically themselves and say when they need help and
mhm.
reach for that because that's important. No one can do anything on their
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Well, Shadia, thank you so
own.
much. This has just been so great. And where can listeners connect with you?
They can find me mainly on Instagram. My
Mhm.
social media handle is Shadia_architecture. And then on LinkedIn, I'm somewhat active there as well. Shadia Jaramillo.
Perfect. I'll provide links in the show notes. Shadia, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me again.
Of course. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of From the Honeycomb podcast. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to rate, review, and share it with your friends. To stay connected, follow me on Instagram at From the Honeycomb podcast, and you can support the podcast through the Patreon link in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe to my monthly newsletter where I share exclusive behind-the-scene content and tips on running a mindful and successful architecture business. Thank you again for listening, and stay curious.